A billionaire tech bro is now openly fantasizing about bringing back public hangings. And we're supposed to all pretend that, like, this is totally okay or something? So who am I talking about? Joe Lonsdale, who is a venture capitalist and one of the co-founders of Palantir. You know, the evil company founded by Peter Thiel, named after an evil artifact from Lord of the Rings. Come on. If y'all are nerds, you know what I'm talking about. So now he went on X, Lonsdale did, and said that if he is ever in charge, oof, and that'd be a terrible day, he doesn't want just a three strikes law, okay? He wants people that are convicted of violent crimes to be quickly tried and then hung. His words. And he made sure to add, of course, the part that really matters to them, right? That it's got to be done in public as a spectacle. It's as some sort of deterrence, which, of course, never works, right? That's not actually a deterrent. Now, he, of course, wraps this up in the hallmark card for fascism, saying that, well, our society needs balance. It is time to bring back masculine leadership in order to protect our most vulnerable. No, it's usually the most vulnerable that are the ones that end up going to the gallows, okay? Look, he's not talking about criminal justice. This is a lynch mob, basically. That's what they're doing. They're trying to bring lynch mobs back. I mean, yeah, a lot of people talk about, we're going to go back to the 1900s, 1800s. Well, we're basically going back to the 1600s, okay? Or, maybe even the 1200s, because we might end up having the plague. Thanks to RFK Jr. I mean, this is horrific. Now, a historian from Virginia Tech responded to this and pointed out directly that, this talk about masculine leadership protecting the vulnerable is exactly how they justified lynch mobs. Not the courts, not due process, not the laws, but just crowds, ropes, trees, and bodies left hanging as deterrents, which, weirdly enough, never really stopped crime back then. Yeah. Look, again, the man is not describing a functional justice system. He is describing basically ritual murder. Okay, and this is coming from a man who got rich building a surveillance corporation, okay, which is already in too many things, okay? There's too many things that Palantir is involved in when it comes to privacy and the violation of that privacy, okay? This guy who was plugged into the same billionaire pipeline that is kind of flirting or making out with Christian nationalism and monarchy-curious weirdos, and been going on Maybe Democracy Has Gone Too Far podcasts for years. Yeah. This is what happens when tech elites marinate in that ideology long enough. They stop hitting around the edges and start saying the quiet parts out loud. Journalist Gil Duran, who tracks this in Silicon Valley, called it what it is. A more dangerous and desperate phase of radicalization among tech elites. Yeah, you got Curtis Yarvin out there. I've talked about him before, talking about how to cement authoritarian rule. Okay, just completely eliminating democracy and replacing the president with a CEO. Okay, and states with, basically corporation nation states. Okay, like, this is Amazonville. All right, and this is Microsoft Town. I mean, it's even worse than you could imagine. All right. So this is what they're doing. You also have Peter Thiel talking about the Antichrist. I mean, that's some weird stuff. And now you got these guys fantasizing about being the ones who decide who the state murders. Okay, this is the American right wing now. Okay, you got edgelord memes, you got policy suggestions that are horrific, and that leads to open demands for state violence. Okay? And it's not even subtle. The man said that executions should be public. Why? because it's not about safety. Okay, if it were about safety, then maybe more talk about prevention. Perhaps talk about what actually causes crime in a lot of cases, and that has to do a lot with socioeconomic factors or mental health care, which again could be solved by guaranteeing universal health care. No, we can't talk about rehabilitation or material conditions or any of the boring, actually useful stuff that doesn't get you the likes from the rabid hang 'em high crowd. No, public is the point. Spectacle is the point. Instilling terror is the point. Now you have another, this time it's a theoretical physicist, Sean Carroll, who talked about this and said that basically this is immaturity masquerading as strength, and saying that that is the defining personal characteristic of our age. That's what this is. A bunch of deeply unserious people cosplaying as like Roman consuls or something, pitching themselves as like strong leaders while they LARP about mass executions on social media. And of course, there's the irony that never seems to occur to them, okay, when they do this. Anil Dash, another tech entrepreneur, responded by saying, if we're going to start publicly hanging people whose actions have led to mass harm, maybe Joe Lonsdale's billionaire friends shouldn't feel quite so safe. I mean, you do remember when the former CEO of United Healthcare met his untimely end, okay? And a lot of people were like, I don't really feel bad about that. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, he cut off my grandma's health insurance and denied her claims, and now she's dead. Guess I don't really care about this guy too much, Brian Thompson, okay? So, yeah, just be careful what you wish for, all right? And look, Mark Zuckerberg, he's got sole control over Facebook, which helped enable the Rohingya genocide. So if we have public hanging for people whose decisions get people killed or hurt, if that's the new standard, where do we start? At the bottom? With poor people in bad neighborhoods? Or do we start at the top? With the men in boardrooms and suits? Okay? Their body counts rather high when you think about it. Of course, we all know how this really works. Authoritarian law and order is just never really aimed at the powerful. It's always aimed at the people the powerful already hate and fear. Migrants, protesters, queer folks, political opponents. Anyone that they're convinced is a threat to their rule. Okay? And the same class of billionaires, by the way, calling for public executions are the same ones bankrolling universities, like the University of Austin, which Lonsdale heavily funds. Their big pitch, of course, is that they're going to create thoughtful and ethical innovators, builders, leaders, public servants, and citizens through open inquiry and civil discourse. Open inquiry and civil discourse, right? From a guy who fantasizes about hanging people in public. What does the syllabus include? Intro to rope selection or something? Look, this is why it matters to take this rhetoric seriously. Not because Joe Lonsdale is going to personally flip the switch on a gallows tomorrow. Okay, very doubtful. But this is because this is how authoritarian culture gets normalized. First, you got jokes, edgy humor, whatever. And then it's, well, you know, you're right. Maybe we do need some harsher measures, you know, to clamp down on crime. And then you get policy proposals. And then, of course, it's, well, we have to do this. We've got to do it. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. I mean, you remember hearing Donald Trump talk about mass deportations in his first term. And everybody's like, oh, that'll never happen. What now? It's happening today. And Republicans, by the way, the same people that scream about the tyranny of big government and how we have the Second Amendment to stop that. It's funny. They talk about, you know, how big government's bad only in the context of we're using it to help poor people, like give free school lunches or something. But suddenly, you know, that's big government, right? But then suddenly those same people who scream about that have no problem with the state literally killing people in town square executions. as long as it's certain people that are holding the rope, the right people. Look, this is not. This is dangerous. Okay, it's absolutely ridiculous because this is their dream to have a white, violent state run by strongmen, claiming to protect the vulnerable by deciding who deserves to live. And it's never people who are powerless. So when someone like this, someone who is very powerful in our day and age, has a lot of influence because of how much money he has, when they start talking about public hangings and pitching them as masculine leadership, believe them. But believe that this is what he wants the state to become. Believe that this is what this movement, the MAGA movement, has evolved or devolved into. They're telling us very, very clearly what kind of future they want. The only real question is whether we treat it like a warning or, just ignore it. You know, it's another post from a rich guy. I think we should absolutely believe them. If this video helped you cut through the BS and see what is really happening, then smash that like button. Every single like pushes back against the right-wing propaganda machine. I can't do this work without your support. So please check out my Patreon. Link is in the description of this video. For a few bucks a month, you can help keep this channel independent from corporate BS. So hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's keep fighting for democracy and against fascism together.